Today we are celebrating the International Transgender Day of Visibility, boo-boos. As we all know, Black trans women are the most marginalized, period. Because girl, we fighting for our lives out here. Let's get into my business. I always considered you one of the girls anyway. Baby, release them back to the streets, okay? They're not the one. When I tell you this lady, I haven't gotten that many yet, girl. Great. I got absolutely nothing out of that. It was so liberating to finally just be free to be myself. Hey girl, hey. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Christiana, and I am here today to talk about something that's very, very important to me, considering that I'm a Black trans woman. Today we are celebrating the International Transgender Day of Visibility, boo-boos, and it is celebrated every year on this date, March 31st. But before we dive in, I give you a little bit of information about what the day is, where the day is derived, and a little bit about my personal journey as a Black trans woman. I just want to thank you for clicking on the video and stopping by the channel. This has been a surreal experience for me in terms of starting this channel and embarking on my road to 40 in a series that I am currently running, probably the most active series on my channel, which I will have linked up here, and also I'll provide a playlist for that up above. But yes, I am embarking on all the things content creation this year, and to really make my mark on the space as a Black trans woman. I just feel that our presence in this space is very limited, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you go and enjoy some of the other content on the channel, and that you stick around, because I feel like I have a lot of really, really great things to offer in terms of this channel and it being through the lens of a Black transgender woman. So with that said, let's jump into what we're here for. We're here to talk about International Transgender Day of Visibility. So before we dive into my journey and celebrate that, let's talk about what the day is. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of history. Transgender Day of Visibility was founded in 2009 by transgender activist Rachel Crandall from Michigan. Frustrated that most visibility events focused on mourning and remembering trans lives lost, Rachel wanted a day to celebrate the living trans community, highlighting achievements, resilience, and joy. Since then, Transgender Day of Visibility has grown into a global movement. It's a day when trans and non-binary people proudly share their stories and experiences, while allies show their support and advocacy. This visibility helps combat stereotypes, reduce discrimination, and empower trans voices around the world. Visibility matters because trans and non-binary people continue to face systemic barriers, from healthcare inequalities to legal challenges. But on this day, we focus on celebration and solidarity. So as you can see, it's a very, very important day. I think a lot of times when we think about transgender affairs, it's always a tragedy or it's something negative, right? Because we fighting for our lives out here. We're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for our lives. So there is a lot to mourn. There's a lot to be angry about. There's a lot to be frustrated with. But today, this day is about celebration. This day is about awareness. This day is about uplifting and solidarity and advocacy. And I love everything that the day stands for. I have been out a proud transgender woman for a few years now, and when I say that, I mean that I don't have an aversion to letting people know that I'm a trans woman. I feel that the way in which I navigate my life, it's not necessarily something that I lead with, because I don't feel that it's something that people are entitled to know immediately. I don't think that anyone should be obligated to open up their full identity to anyone when they first meet them, but as I said, it's not something that I'm not stealth, or I don't feel that it's something that I need to fully suppress or not acknowledge for my own safety or just out of preference. I feel proud to be a trans woman and everything that comes along with it. It's a journey. And I think that for a long time, it was something that I couldn't necessarily say that I was proud to be, which is, it's a sad reality for my story and for a lot of other trans people's story. But this channel is one of the things that birthed from my pride as a Black trans woman. And I do emphasize the fact that I'm a Black trans woman because, as we all know, Black trans women are the most marginalized, period. We have pretty much everything that you can possibly have going against you. So I'm definitely very proud of the fact that not only am I a trans woman, but I'm a Black trans woman in this space, sharing my experiences and hoping to really build community with any and everyone that either can relate to my experience and my journey, or just people who want to support, people who have their own experiences or their own journey to self-identity and self-fulfillment. I think that's with this space. That's what I'm creating this space for. And yeah, we clown, we have fun. Channel is primarily focused on lifestyle, beauty, wellness, and also some advocacy for marginalized and oppressed groups, such as transgender people. But I want the space to be interactive. I want people to feel safe to engage in conversation. If there's anything that I present, say, allude to that you want to discuss, always feel free to chit chat below in the comments. It makes my day when I get comments. I haven't gotten that many yet, girl, but it makes my day when I get comments because it makes the whole thing interactive, and it really speaks to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And that's build a community, girl, okay? So let's get into my business. Let's get into how this journey has been going for me and where I hope to go with this, right? So late 2021, revelation, boom. I don't know what's going on. And honestly, pause. Let's take a step back, because I feel like the journey for any trans person starts way before it's realized, but I think everyone has that pivotal moment, right? So the pivotal moment for me was at the top of the pandemic, but it took some time for me to wrap my brain around exactly what it is that is going on inside my brain. And I think it had a lot to do with just a lot of time to just have moments of introspection, being trapped in the house, not having distractions, not having any social outlets or anything to sway me off the path of self-discovery, really did play a pivotal role in me coming to the light, realizing who it is I am and what it is I need to do in order to lead the most fulfilling and authentic version of my life and being the most authentic version of myself. So I can point out now in hindsight moments in my childhood, in school, in PE class, and the PE teacher dividing us up by boys and girls and not really feeling like I belong and feeling comfortable in male spaces. And that was a prevalent recurring thing in school growing up. Also, just as I got older and started to explore sexuality and not really having a firm grasp of the difference between sexuality and identity. So feeling comfortable exploring femininity through sexuality, but still not being able to push past this idea that the gender that I was assigned at birth is it. That's the final answer. That's the final frontier. Like, there's no changing that. So even if everything inside me felt like a woman and felt feminine, it just, too bad, so sad. You weren't destined to lead and fulfill that identity, So it was definitely just pretty frustrating and confusing until I felt like, okay, me, the A student, right? Girl, I'm always gonna rise to the occasion when it comes to an assignment and just pushing whatever agenda is in my head. So in my head, I told myself, okay, this is who you have to be. And I fully engulfed myself in that. Once I felt like I pushed the limits as much as I possibly could, I could be the most feminine man, be the most feminine version of a man, and fully own that. I did that for a nice chunk of my adulthood until the pandemic. So that catches you up. It was definitely, it's been interesting sharing with family and friends and receiving certain feedback. I remember one of my really good friends, Lori, when I let her know that I was trans, and her response was, I always considered you one of the girls anyway. So kind of nice that you actually are one of the girls now. And I just found that to be really, really, look, I'm lost for words, and girl, that's not something that happens too often over here. But seriously, like, it was something that really just like put things into perspective, and that other people could see the authentic me before I realized and accepted that. Because I have to say, most of the people that I've shared my identity with, like people who knew me before I started transitioning, all say they're not surprised. They knew. They always knew. Some of them knew that something was different about me, but they couldn't put their finger on it. But most people knew. They had some idea as to me not really following the life that was ascribed for me. I thought that was interesting, and it was so liberating to finally just be free to be myself, to just live in that space. And that leads me into the transition process, right? So that was leading up, pandemic hit, I started to have lots of moments of introspection, and boom, late 2021, I said, you know what? Let's explore this. I still didn't fully lean into or identify as a trans woman, but I wanted to explore my identity a bit more. And that is when I started HRT, or hormone replacement therapy, for those who are not familiar with the acronym or the term. And I started on a low dose of estrogen, and it was in that moment, I'd say maybe a month or even less into that process, it was when I knew for sure, no, this is so euphoric, and just the feeling of having the estrogen run through my blood and some of the changes that were happening fairly quickly on a low dose of estrogen, for me, it was very affirming, and it was very enlightening for me, to the point when I knew it was time for me to accept my true identity. So the work began. And I have to say that taking the estrogen and embarking on the physical changes, growing my hair out, and all of that was very fulfilling and very mentally and emotionally taxing for me, just knowing that I was moving in my purpose and moving in the right direction, but knowing that societally I had to deal with an awkward phase, and I'll forever have to deal with being a transgender woman, was really, it was sending my angst up. It was very anxiety inducing, but me being cool, calm, and collected, or so I always like to think, I just suppressed those feelings, but knew that that was a temporary fix. Like, I needed to speak with someone that would be able to help me process everything and navigate through what it is that I was feeling, right? So off to therapy I go. And girl, let's talk about the journey to find a therapist, because let's face it, all therapists are not created equally. I'm so sorry to the girls that think that therapist is a therapist, because a therapist is not a therapist. I will say it until I turn blue in the face. You are in a session with a therapist, or if you finish a session with a therapist and you realize that you didn't feel a connection with that person, you don't feel like you were moving in the direction of building good rapport and trust and having a certain level of comfort with that person, baby, release them back to the streets, okay? They're not the one. For me, I have a little story time about therapists. So I booked a therapist. It was for an early morning, because at that time I liked to do earlier sessions. I don't know, I felt like mentally I wanted to start my day with a nice cathartic therapy session, right? So anyway, it was an early appointment. It was like maybe an 8 o'clock appointment. I arrived, and at this time, because of the pandemic, it was virtual. So sign in to the portal, I'm in the portal, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. It's literally at this point 8:12, and I said, I'm gonna give this lady until 8:15. And if she doesn't arrive by 8:15, I'm headed out and I'm getting my money back. Kind of situation. And what do you know? She pops in. When I tell you, this lady came fumbling in. She looks disheveled. She was confused. She had to ask me my name. Like, she just was ill prepared. I said, oh my gosh, what the heck? I did go through with a therapy session because I was just like, let's give her a chance, you know? I don't know. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what people are going through. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Something happened. She did give me some kind of excuse that I couldn't tell you what it is at this point, but she gave me some kind of excuse, right? Great. We go through the therapy session. At the end of it, I said, great. I got absolutely nothing out of that. And I want you to remember that the first therapy session is not going to be one where you're diving into, you know, a lot of the things that you need to discuss. The first therapy session is for you to establish a connection, you know, for the therapist to get a understanding as to who you are and what you're hoping to accomplish. So by the end of the first session, you should feel like, great, I feel like this therapist was very thorough in getting a better idea as to who I am and what it is that I'm looking to accomplish in our relationship. And I got none of that. Like, I just felt like it was a waste of 45 minutes for me. So, baby, if you get that feeling, let them go. Let them go and try again. And sometimes it will take you 3, 4, 5 different therapists before you finally find the one. And I'm so happy to say that I found my one. Shout out to her. She is phenomenal. And let's talk about all the things that I was able to do in the course of a year and a half. I was able to accept my own identity. I was able to then share said identity with all of my work colleagues, family, friends. I started to actually present in the way in which I felt most comfortable. So for me, and I want to clarify this because I have a feeling that there are some people who feel like just because someone identifies as a transgender woman, that it's because they have a propensity or a need to present feminine, and that's just not the case. So let's clear that up. Your gender and your expression, your gender expression, your identity and your expression are two different things, okay? So whether you identify as a man, a woman, or as non-binary, and then whether you present as masculine, feminine, or somewhere in between. Two separate topics that we're talking, right? So when I say I was presenting in a way that was more of an accurate representation of me, I mean that I always hoped, prayed, dreamed, sent smoke signals to the gods that I would be able to present feminine. I would be able to wear feminine clothing. I would be able to just present in a feminine way because my spirit has always been feminine. It's always been feminine. Even as a kid, when I would try to hide it, I would get bullied for being feminine because it was who I innately was. I was innately a little girl trapped in a body that was ascribed. To go back to my list, I changed my name and all my gender markers on all of my official documents. And finally, the biggest step is I decided to pursue my dreams as a someone to help marginalize and oppress people. Now, it's not in the way in which I envisioned it would be. I wanted to be a therapist, which is going to require a bit more education. And I'm going to say want, not past tense, not wanted, but want to be a therapist because I still want to. And I still think that I could be one day. It's going to require more education, which requires more money. So we'll make it happen one of these days. But in the meantime, I know that there are ways that I can uplift, advocate through me having a voice and sharing my experiences in my journey. And voila, this channel was born. And here I am. So that pretty much leads us up to today and what we hope for in the future. So essentially, I hope that this channel leads me to opportunities to represent Black trans women in the world in a positive light. I think that there is a perception of what it means to be a trans woman, and then specifically the Black trans woman experience, because the minimal coverage that's shared on Black trans women is, let's just say, it's skewed to give off one perception. And I'm here to change that. I'm here to show that me, a Black transgender woman, can create content about lifestyle, beauty, wellness. I will forge partnerships and receive sponsorships from major brands as a Black trans woman, and will show that we deserve to be in these spaces as well. That is the mission at hand here, and ultimately, I think that I've had enough experiences with loved ones, personal experiences in which I have been able to reshape perceptions and the thoughts on what a transgender woman is. I'm able to communicate my experience in a way that is received by people who may be a little rigid or a bit uninterested in learning new things. I have a gift with that, and I want to share it. And it's just been a joy to just lean into my identity and to be comfortable with myself and to ultimately thrive as the Black trans woman that I am. So with that shares my experience, and it's been magical. It's really been magical being on YouTube and seeing the love, whether it's personally people who I know in real life who watch the content and let me know that they enjoy it, or whether it's new people who comment on the videos and who like, who share, who show love. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and it's just starting. I'm so excited to continue to entertain y'all, girl. I'm really happy to entertain, educate, and uplift the trans community. Okay, so I'm so glad that you made it to the channel. Please be sure to like the video on the way out, and please subscribe, girl, because we're trying to build something over here. We're trying to build a little community, and we need you to join the party, okay? All right, well, you will be seeing more from me on my series, The Road to 40, which is a daily vlog series. So, girl, y'all are getting well fed every day over here. You're gonna get at least one video per day. But we also have some exciting content videos coming, similar to this, sit down style, planned out. We'll go over a topic, and I try to keep the topics fun. This one obviously was a no-brainer, but we have an exciting video coming up about manipulators, y'all. I know y'all know a manipulator, and I know y'all want to talk about it, so that's coming soon, as well as a lot of other great topics. And finally, shameless plug, but your girl is also a real estate agent in the DMV, so I will link my real estate channel up here, where you can find some videos on real estate and also my information in case you want to reach out to me about your real estate needs. I am licensed in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, but if you're not local and you have real estate questions or are looking to be referred to someone, especially my marginalized and oppressed people where safety is of the utmost importance, I'm happy to get you connected with and vet out some good agents for you, okay? So feel free to reach out to me via my real estate contacts if that is something that you're interested in as well. Okay, thanks again for watching, and I will see you soon.